Okay, so the trucks are connected. Now what we need to do is create a ground plane for the board and tidy it up, designate as the few bits and pieces, just a small corrections here and there. And also we have to run design rule checker on it. So before I go into design rule checker, I actually need to create my ground planes, otherwise I'll have too many errors. There's probably going to be many errors, but a lot of them you should be able to fix pretty quickly. So first, I need to actually change my grid to 1 millimeter. Otherwise, it will be just too hard to create a nice ground plane. So changing that back to 1. And this is the add field zone icon. So when I click there and select my first point, and you can see that I can just snap 1 millimeter away from those two edges, click there. We've got this little menu there. No net, which means that we have to actually select what this ground plane is going to be. Normally, you create a field zone, not the ground planes, field zone. So normally we just select ground, and that way all the field areas are going to be ground. But you can have a combination. You could have ground on one layer, 3.3 volts or 5 volts on the other layer. You can have all sorts of different combinations. In most cases, your flood planes are basically ground. So I'll select that, and I can create both front and back at the same time, so I can just tick that on. The clearance settings and so on, I normally change them to, this is what, 0.25, 0.25, and maybe 0.3 and 0.3. So these are the settings. Later on we can adjust it if needed, but that's basically it. I'll just say OK. And now I can continue drawing this zone. So I'm going 1 millimeter away from the edge. 1, 2, 3, 4, close the loop. And now we've got this zone. Now there's two of them. There's one on the top. If I switch the top off, you can see one on the bottom. They're linked. Now, next, I'm going to fill it in with copper just to see what will happen. So I'll just save this and go edit, fill zones, fill all zones. Click there, and my zones are filled. You can see little patches where the zones are not filled. I'll just switch off my bottom layer. You can see that some areas are not filled because there's no direct connection between my ground pins or ground to those zones. We'll have to stitch it together with wires to make sure that we can actually supply ground to those areas. Now, realistically, those areas are so small that even if you don't do it, it's going to be fine. But I like to make sure that all my empty areas or areas without tracks have ground on. So this is the top layer. If I switch off the top, leave the bottom, you can see that's completely filled, apart from a few little connections here and there which we've created to cross our tracks. So that's a really good arrangement. We've got a continuous large plane joining everything together, which is really, really good. So next, I'll just save this, and I'm going to run DRC, design rules checker, DRC, just to see, what sort of errors we have and start fixing them, because there will be always some errors. So I'll just run the checker. Review zones before performing. Yeah, it's already done. That's all fine. I'll just run it. And we've got lots of different errors there, 27, which are all the same, and they're all saying clearance violation, net class power clearance 0.3, actual 0.25. Now, if you look at the pads, it's ground plane or ground pad 35 volts, so it's between the pads. You can see they highlighted right there, for example, the first pair. I'll just zoom in and just show you. This is the first pair, which means that what happens is, and we've got lots of those violations here and there, what happened is that our 5 volts has a larger keep out area. So 5 volts, this little line there, a larger keep out area, and basically those pads are too close to each other for that setting. So we have to modify this setting. So what I'll do is I'll just close this, go to File, Board Setup, and in my net classes, Power, you can see that we've got clearance of 0.3. This is the one the system is complaining about. I'll change that to 0.25. So it matches the actual distance between the pads, or clearances between the pads. So that is changed. The rest of it can be, I can just leave it as it is. I'll just say OK, and those two are fine. So just say OK, save this. Let's go to the design rules checker and check it again. So all those arrows are the old arrows, so you have to delete all markers. I'll just press on that and run it again. Okay, actual is 0.2, so it still complains because it's still 0.25 is still too much. We've got 0.2 millimeter clearance between those pads. So, okay, sorry guys, I'll close this. I'll go again and change it to 0.2. Board setup. Obviously, we are using small pitch components, and that's what happens. So that's what it is. 0.2. Okay. Save and just rerun the design rule checker to see if we can remove those errors. So delete all markers. Run DLC again. Okay. So most of them are gone. Now we've got only 15. Still a lot. Silk screen overlap setting. We can ignore those for now. Thermal relief connection. So this is interesting one. Okay. Incomplete. Basically, what we have is we do have a ground pin, which is not fully connected to ground. I mean, it is connected because it's connected through there, but it's not connected internally. It doesn't sort of, like it if it's not connected through there. We can easily fix it. So if we want to fix this error and silk screen overlaps, we have to fix those because that's all just reference numbers. Let's have a look at them. Yeah, we do have that reference C7 too close to that segment there. It's not a huge error, but we're going to fix that in a minute anyway. So this is the important one. That lack of connection through there. So I'll just close. And what I can do is first I need to take my flag off, so turn it off, so unfill all zones. And I'll make a little bit more space here to basically allow for ground plane to go inside and connect to this ground there. So those two lines, TXRX, I need to really sort of move it out a little bit. That's interesting. Oh yeah, my snap is 1 millimeter. That's what the problem is. I have to put it back to 0.25. And now I'll just move those two lines out, giving a little bit more space, and then we can either stitch it, or I can actually move this one up, this one up. That can come down, and just leave that space here for the ground plane to connect. That should fix that error, hopefully. So let's just run the checker and delete all markers, refill the zones, yes, run DLC. Okay, so we've removed this error. This is no longer an error. but we do have some problems with our designators. So screen, all of them are pretty much the same error. Unconnected items, we do have a couple of unconnected missing connection between items zone ground and zone ground. So let's just have a look what it is. Ground on front and back. Okay, those two, basically those two, there's no connection between ground plane on the front and the back. We can fix that as well. So I'll close this, zoom out, save this board. I'll remove my flood, edit, unfill all zones. And let's start with our designators. So all our text. I'll change my SMAP now to something much finer, something like 0.1 of the millimeter. And I'll zoom in, and let's just, I also changed my selection filter to all items. Now, if I press on D2, now I can actually move it and make sure that, I'll make sure that it's away from, the actual text is away from that yellow line there, because that's what it was complaining about. That one, I'll move it up as well. We can just change those, change all the text, making sure that it's nice and clearly visible. That one here doesn't exist. This one is what matters. C5. Yeah, I can move that one away a little bit. It's not too close. It's probably fine. Those are a little bit of an issue. This one is fine. This one is not. I can actually move this one out. Oh, look. We don't have a lot of space here. I can actually move a component. So what I'll do is I'll select now the select footprint, select that footprint, and I'll just move it out a little bit just to make sure that we've got enough space for our text. Select all components, text. The clear should be okay. If it's not okay, we'll move it further. I can now fix my connections there. Now there's a little track there which we don't need, so I can delete that one and that one there. C4 is fine. I'll just move it out a little bit. What else? J1. I'll make sure that this, I'll just put it out here somewhere. C2. Most of it should be okay, actually. The position of those, they're pretty close, but they're not too close. And the designated text can go over tracks. There's no issue there. It's just paint, which is painted over top of finished boards, so they'll be clearly visible on the top anyway. That one is fine. The C7 here might be an issue. Yeah, there's an arrow there. Which means that we need to really position that a little bit lower, and hopefully we're not too close here. If we are, we can always sort of move those to the side, make them nice and yeah, just like that. I'll do the same with those two. I can go over tracks, there's no issue. But it's just, it'll look much nicer. J5 is fine, C9 is fine. Those two are obviously an issue. So the switch, I'll just move it down here. And this R should be okay. What else? Yeah, we've got a lot of issues here. So what I'll do for a start is I'll select all those diode designators, just using Control to select all individual designators. zoom in, and I'll move all of them above the component. So just let's see if that distance is going to be okay. And I'll do the same for the resistors. I'll just make it a little bit nicer to have text above. You can have it below, it's up to you. I'm just moving it above because I want to. Okay. I'll save this, and hopefully those issues are fixed. Let's have a look. That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, that should be okay. Let's just check it. So I'll save the board and run the DLC again. First, you have to delete all markers and then run it again. Okay, only a couple. Reference the 7 and the 8. Oh yes, I've missed one. And the 7 to silk screen. Yeah, I've missed one. So if we come here, these 7, I need to move it up there somewhere. Yeah, that should be okay. Let's just check it again. So delete all markers, run DLC. No errors. We still have one unconnected item. So, and this is the ground plane top and bottom. So we're going to fix that next. So I'll save the board. That's really good because we don't have too many errors. We had ones which were easy to fix. So what I'll do is I'll switch that back to 0.25. I can actually have it a little bit fine, and maybe even 0.1. That's fine. I'll leave it as 0.25. And I'm going to remove my floodplain, so unfill all zones. And I need to stitch top and bottom layers together. So I'll select the wire tool, and I'll just place one, and with stitching, I usually stitch boards across along the edges and then do some critical points and important points on the board. So I'll start with that corner here somewhere, place it down. Now I'll zoom in, and I want to change properties of this wire because currently that's not connected to anything. So double click on that, and I want to assign net. So untick this, and I want to assign ground plane to that. 0.3, 0.6, it's a standard sort of free wire, it's fine. It's connecting the two layers there, it's fine. As long as it's ground, it's all good. Okay, now this is my ground stitching wire. It connects the two layers together. I'll select that, copy that, just use Control-C. I'll zoom out a little bit, Control-V, and I'll try to place them about 20 millimeters apart. So that board is 100. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to be too precise and too obsessed about the positioning of them. You can if you want to, but I'll just stitch them just like that, and I can connect the last one here somewhere. Okay, now I'll do the same along the bottom. This is not 20 millimeters, you can adjust it if you want to. So what I'll do is I'll put one in the corner here, Control-V. I definitely want to put something close to here. And next one, maybe over here somewhere. Obviously, wires do cost money, but there is a number of wires you can place without increasing cost of the board. So, and usually that number is pretty high, so we don't have to worry too much about it. Next, this ground plane is pretty sort of consistent, easy. There's not much happening there, but I'm going to put some wires across in between. Maybe not every LED, but every second one. That's good enough connection. That will flatten nicely here. Now, when we have a power rail, I like to put wires sort of on both sides of the power rail just to connect those ground planes together. So I'll put one here. This is more personal sort of than anything else. And now I can come here and place one on the other side. Just making sure that those ground planes are sort of linked nicely. Okay, and one here. So that gives us sort of good connection between top and bottom. I'll probably put in, we've got this big pin which is linking together, so I'm not too fussed about this area. We've got a good ground connection there. But I'm going to go to the top, and that one corner is fine, but I'll just stitch across that power line there. Okay. Now, so this is my basics. I go around. The second lot I want to put in is close to my microprocessor. So I'll put one in every corner. This is what I always do, making sure that those ground planes are connected. And here I can't really put it here because of the track, but I've got plenty of space here, so I can just place one there. I also want to place them under the chip inside. I want to link those ground plates together, so I'll put one here and one on the other end. And that's plenty. That'll really sort of link it together. Another positioning which I usually use is I put one close to my ground connections and capacitors. So I can actually use one, I've put one in the center here, in between the two. I can put one here. I can put one on this side, so I'll just put one here. And close to this ground connection. I can put it right where the text is. It doesn't matter, text will go over it. So I'll just put one there. And what else? Okay, we've got this sort of big isolated area. So I don't have to have too many of them, but if I put one in the center here, that would be good. I can probably put one a little bit closer, maybe here somewhere. I can also look at, all those areas are fine, but if you want to be real sort of picky, you could improve it by stitching together those planes through here. So I'll just put in some of them there. Okay, these are communications, so that's fine. This is unknown, but I can still put them here. This is a large, big sort of area, so I'll just put one here, stitching it together. What else do we have? We've got this area here, which is nice to be stitch. This area is fine. We've got a big stitching plane here, and then we've got a little one there. Next one, I want to go on this side. I've got one here, so technically I don't actually need it here. This area is a little bit sort of slim, and yeah, it requires something, so I'll just put one. I could put one there, but I'll just put one here. those areas through here. Put one here. Again, there's no good, it's not that I have to have them here, but this is what I like to do. So that area here is completely isolated. So I would like to actually have something here. I would also like to increase that connection across there. So I'll just put one here. That's another area which is a little bit funny. That's connected through there. Here we don't really need one here, but I can put one here. There's no harm. Just need to make sure that I'm clearing all the pads and everything else. This needs to be stitched through here somewhere. What else? So that's okay. We've got some areas which we could stitch like those two, but that should be okay. We've got ground pin here, so I'll just put one right behind it. A ground, sorry, for the capacitor. Those two, that's a big plane, uninterrupted with some stitching, so that should be okay. But you know, when it comes to capacitors, I like to put them close. What else? I think that's it. We can test it and see how that works. Okay, the U. I definitely want to put one here. I'll put one inside just to make sure that we're linking those two planes together. And I really want to put one here somewhere. And definitely I need something inside there. I could run it through here, for example. And now I'm being paranoid, but that's it's still not too many. That's still okay. Capacitor again. Capacitor again. Those areas, really okay. I need to include this internal area here, so I'll just put one here. And what else? We could put one here, but realistically, this is one big area with a big pin right there, so we don't need to. But we've got a couple of capacitors here, and I definitely want to stitch behind those two. Okay. Look, this is pretty good as it is. I don't see a major issue here. I'll just zoom out. Obviously, you can put more in, but this is plenty, I think. This is, you know, going overboard a little bit, but that's okay. I'll save this, and let's just run our DRC check again. Delete all markers, run DRC, and we are clean. So we've got no violations, no unconnected items, everything is good. So I'll save this. And now we've got some finishing touches, which I'll do in the next video, because we still need to do some modify that footprint for the capacitor and put some text in and so on. So